DreAllDay.com.
DreAllDay.com. I want to talk about true power versus symbolic power. Now, what I'm going to share here in this video, I'm going to have a whole podcast episode recorded on this subject. That actually the episode already came out, but didn't come out on YouTube yet. So those of you who just watch YouTube, you might have not seen it yet, but it will be out soon. But when we talk about true power, what we're talking about is having the kind of power that is not dictated to you or not handed to you or dictated to you by mere mortals. True power, just so you understand what it is. First of all, let's define what power is. Power is just the capacity to have influence over outcomes. And true power is power that is not given to you. True power is taken. And actually, it's not even taken. It's assumed, because you're not taking it from anywhere. It's not like you take it away from someone else to get it for yourself. True power is assumed. You decide that you're a person of power, and at that moment that you decide you're a person of power and you assume the position, then you're a person of power. That's where true power comes from. True power is not something that somebody can tell you that you have or somebody can give to you. So for example, give you an example of symbolic power. If you have employment, you're employed at a company and you get a promotion from manager to director or from employee to manager, now you have more say over what happens. Now certain people you could tell them what to do, whereas before you couldn't tell them what to do. That's symbolic power. The reason why that power is symbolic is because the same way that a human gave you that position, a human can just as easily take it away. So if the next week after you get that promotion, you get fired from the job, what happened to your power? It went away just as quickly as it came. So that's not true power, because somebody gave it to you and somebody took it away from you. There's nothing of substance behind that. If you are, for example, you're a doctor or a head nurse at a hospital, and when you're in the hospital, you're in charge of at least that department that you work in. You have power inside that department, but as soon as you walk out of the hospital, who are you? All your power goes from here to here. Your power just goes away as soon as you walk out of the hospital, because your power is symbolic. It only matters in certain places. As soon as you walk out of that place, your power no longer exists. That's not true power. True power, again, I'm going to emphasize this again, it is assumed, and true power comes from the inside. It does not come from anything on the outside. So true power has nothing to do with your job title, has nothing to do with your career status, has nothing to do with what kind of house you live in or what kind of car you drive, has nothing to do with how much money you have. These things are not the things that actually give you power. Now, these things can support your power, because a person who has, for example, you think back to the COVID situation, and a bunch of you who are watching this might have went and got that jab even though you didn't want to get the jab, because your job said to you, look, I know you're the boss, you're the director, you're a manager, you have this elevated position in the company, but look, if you don't go get that jab, you can't come to work, and you'll be fired if you don't get it within the next 15 days, and you went and got the jab even though you didn't want to, against your will. That tells you what kind of power you actually have. You have symbolic power, and that's not knocking you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad about it, but I want to make sure you understand what's what. So when you understand what's what, you can make decisions accordingly based on the knowledge that you know what's going on. Any of you who you have your job tell you have to do something and you don't really want to do it, but then you do it anyway, that's symbolic power. When you do what you want to do because you know that no matter how people respond, you can deal with their response, you can deal with their reaction, if you want to call it that, that's true power. Because your power is coming from you, it is not coming from someone else. And this goes to a couple bigger picture ideas. First of all, we talk about things like rights, human rights that people talk about here in America. I remember when the COVID thing was going on, Arnold Schwarzenegger did a video where he was sounding stupid, where he said, screw your rights, because he said a lot of people are talking about rights and not wanting to take the COVID jab. He said, screw your rights. People were saying getting the COVID jab was a public health thing. And now we realized that was all nonsense, because getting the jab didn't even do anything. And a bunch of people got the jab, still got sick anyway. And then they changed the definition of the word vaccine to make people who got bullied and duped into taking the jab not feel stupid about it, even though they were still stupid to get bullied and duped into doing it. Anyway, he says, screw your rights. And as if, because Arnold Schwarzenegger used to be governor of California. So he was intimating that governments could basically force people to do this, and there were many reports out there that people were saying the government is going to try to force people to do this. They never actually did, and it would have gotten ugly had they tried. Here's the whole point. Your rights are not granted to you by the government. And some of you may think that, and many political people would like you to believe that because it gives them more of their own symbolic power. Because the more you believe that the government grants you rights, the more you'll be willing to listen to them when they tell you had to do something, and the more afraid you'll be if they threaten you with something else, right? But the government does not grant you rights. Your rights are granted to you by your higher being, by God, Allah, whatever you call that higher being that created you, whatever you believe in. Those are where your rights are granted to. That's why they're called human rights. They're not governmental rights. They're not political rights. They are human rights. By the act of being a human being, those rights belong to you. So anytime you have someone telling you that you can't do something that is based on you being human, and they're basically saying, or they're intimating they can take it away from you, those are people, first of all, the people saying that have symbolic power, and secondly, if you agree with it and you'll go along with it, then you don't have true power, because you allow them to take your power away from you by threatening you. And some of you may be listening to this right now and saying, Dre, I get what you're saying, this all makes sense, but going by the way that you're laying this out, Dre, most people don't really have that kind of true power. Most people only have, if they have any power, it's only symbolic power. They get it from their job, they get it from their status, their position politically, their position professionally, their position within a company or something like that. That's the only power that most people have, Dre. So what exactly are you saying here? If what you're saying is true, Dre, then what you're saying is most people don't really have true power. And my response to that is you're 100% correct. Most people don't have true power. The reason why most people don't have true power is because most people don't even understand where power comes from. And that's why they don't have true power, because they think their power is something that somebody hands to them, or that somebody gives to them, or that you get it when you climb a certain ladder. All right, so when I get to a certain status in my business, or a certain position in my career, or I get a certain title within my company, that's when I'll have power. No, that's nonsense. That's not how you get power. It has nothing to do with that. Zero to do with that. If you think that's where your power comes from, you were taught that was indoctrinated in you by somebody who has symbolic power. And the reason they indoctrinated that in you is because they have more status than you. So they're trying to put you below them. That's why they're letting you know that the way you get power is you got to get to where I'm at. And you're not there yet. So now what does that mean? By deductive reasoning, they have more power than you, so they can tell you what to do. They can control you. That's what this is all about. That's the mental game. And you all who are serious about being powerful in your lives, and again, remember what power is just your ability to have influence over outcomes. You want to have true power in your life, you got to understand what power actually is. Many of you don't even know what it is, therefore you can't get it. And the main reason that many of you aren't in a position of power right now in your lives, not because you don't have the capacity, because the way I've defined this and explained it, all you understand by this point in the video, anybody can have power anytime you want it, right? You got power right now if you want to. If you're willing to do what's necessary to have it, you can have power right now. But many of you don't even understand how it works. So you've been thinking that you got to do these things to get power, when it's actually you got to do these things over here. There's a much shorter list on this side than it is over there on that side. So the number one thing you need to do right now, your call to action here, any of you who wants to step into a position of power in your life, is decide that you actually have it. That's step one. Decide that you have it. All right, there's no checklist of things you need to do to have power. All right, it's one thing. Decide that you actually have it. And once you've made the decision that you have power, well, now all you got to do is behave as that person that you've decided that you are, which means you assume the position. What does a person in power do that you, up to this point in your life, have not been doing? Picture what a person in power is, who they are, how they conduct themselves, how they think, how they feel, how they move. And then look at you in the mirror and ask yourself, what are the discrepancies between that person and me? And then you need to make your adjustments. That's how you step into true power in life. And the reason why so many people go through life being subjected to other people's rules and other people's beliefs and other people's whatever they get dictated to them is because, again, they don't understand this. And then let me add one more thing. A lot of people, even when they understand what I'm sharing here, they're not willing to pay the price, because understand power comes at a price. See, the price of power is that you get responsibility that comes with it. Power and responsibility are a package deal. You get one, you got to take the other. You can't have one without the other. So as soon as you step into a position of power, you also have responsibility. And also ownership comes with power as well. Usually people want that though. So ask yourself if you're willing to pay the price of power, which is one of the other prices of power. This is the social cost of it, is that you are going to find yourself most of the time amongst people who don't have any power. They don't believe they can have power. They don't even understand power. And if they have any power, their only power is symbolic. That is power that is handed to them by a man. And any power that's handed to you by man, again, can be taken away from you. That's not real. That's symbolic power. Those are that's a police officer has symbolic power. A person working at a company who has an elevated status has symbolic power. A doctor at a hospital has symbolic power. The principal at a school has symbolic power. The dean of students at a college, that is symbolic power. A security guard working at a building is symbolic power. One way you know somebody's power is symbolic is as soon as they walk out of the place where they are conducting themselves as if they're high and mighty, they automatically become nobody. All right, that's how you know they got symbolic power. True power travels with you, and the levels don't change no matter where you go, no matter who you're amongst. And again, there are very few people who actually have this, because there's a few people who understand it and there's few people willing to pay the price to get it. But now that you know it, now you can make a decision. With all that said, text me, tell me the best insight, idea you got from this video. The number's 305-384-6894. And when you text me, you'll also be in my text community. You'll be getting my daily motivation text that I send out for free every single day to everybody in my text community. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is where I do all my coaching. If you want to be coached by me directly, we're selective about who gets coached over here. So you got to hop on a call with us. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. We'll tell you, it will set that up for you. Also, if you want to get access to all my courses and best trainings like Bulletproof Mindset, 30 Days of Discipline, ASAP Confidence, Work on Your Game System, and more. We got 40 plus courses in there. You can get that as well at the same place at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game.